do you think that attitudes are changing dramatically in the boardroom at the top of organizations?
So look, if I had answered the question you asked right at the top, I would have been a little schizophrenic about the yes or no. I think the last 3 years have amplified things that we actually knew but were willing to ignore, which building on Kate's comment. And I think within that, to put it in context, behind a lot of this is the challenges that we see in our society aren't in and of themselves new. What I think is the big fracture that is so obvious now is that trust has been eroded so significantly. And as part of some work that I did for One Young World a number of years ago when I was working in Telefonica, we did a global millennial survey. And the single biggest issue consistent across the world, and I'm not just talking about certain emerging markets, was young people's concern about corruption in their society. And that was as prevalent in European countries as it was in other parts of the world. So this is not new. And I think the question for all of us is, acknowledging the problem is one thing, but how do we address? And for me, it's a philosophy that I've held very strongly, is that pointing out the challenge is one thing. The truth is we have most of the capacity to solve the problems of our society in our society. Because guess what? Talent is broadly distributed and available. It's opportunity that isn't.
What is really interesting about that, if you're a distinctly older person as am I, the only weapon you have in the digital world is that the people that work for you, with you, actually trust you face to face. And digital does bring a horrible amount of transparency to bear, which is hard as a business leader to deal with radical transparency. My generation, we didn't do that stuff. But it's an interesting thing that it has that reverse coin, and the only thing you can do as not being a digital native is behave yourself. Do you remember 20 years ago, at the sort of coming of the internet was about a little bit old, 5-6 years, I was aware of it. But you remember those charts we used to see at business presentations like we had today, where the tech guys would say to us, this was the old organization, with the hierarchy, and now it's all these little circles around the place, and you were sitting there going, yeah, right. But it's as you say it is today. If you are a leader in the corporate space, you better get into it. This is about, we're saving our own lives. We're saving our species. We'd better get into it. There isn't any time. Mike made the point. That window's going like that, on every single aspect. We need the kind of leadership that Centuro's providing. Provide these platforms where we can rapidly expand globally and understand, damn it, once and for all. So this urgency on leadership is there, as hard as it may be. And this younger bunch of leaders themselves are looking at the rest of us and going, what have you got? And it better be fast.
Any thoughts, questions from the audience?
For the young sort of leaders or the young people looking to head into leadership, is there any recommended way of speeding up education and experience, essentially? We're all used to the higher-ups being the older generations who have gone through the years and years of the business. Any recommendations on education or how to improve yourself to get to that point so you can be as effective as possible?
So very briefly, I would offer two perspectives. One is, one of our challenges is we have a largely analog education system for a digital world. And the second one is we have analog parents in a digital world. And we have to address both of those in the front end of the process. And good companies do. I've worked here with other leaders to help to build curriculum, help to build programs so that what is being taught in schools and universities is closer to what businesses need. But the second thing I would say is, and it goes back to this idea of social capital rather than human capital, is actually the opportunity for accelerated learning is in a lot of good companies already because of the fact that they're not based on hierarchies in the traditional sense, and they're tapping into capabilities faster. And you need to be looking for an organization that will address your particular talents to the opportunities at hand in a non-hierarchical way. Otherwise, don't be there.
I think encouraging employees and also as an employer, learning to say to the youngsters, what do you want? What do you want to learn? And it's amazing the things that they want and that are so easily available and so cost efficient to send them off on this stuff. The stuff is actually there, but listen to them. What's for sure, and the big corporates, Ronan is right, know this. People, our employees today expect lifelong learning. They expect it. And you know what? It's not the hardest thing in the world to provide. It's something that we can do.
Yep.